thank you for tuning in to Connections and Directions, our University of Michigan Civil and Environmental Engineering podcast. My name is Michelle Santillan, and I am the CEE Marketing Communications Specialist and host of this series. During our podcasts, we are featuring members of our CEE community and how their work reflects our mission of engineers in service to society. We will be highlighting our strategic directions and our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. CEE's 5 strategic directions are human habitat experience, shaping resource flows, adaptation, automation, and smart infrastructure finance. We're here with Professor Lissa MacVean, who's a lecturer in our CEE department. Welcome.
Thanks, Michelle. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. How do you see yourself participating in our strategic directions in CEE?
The one that really resonates with me the most is adaptation, and this is something that I teach a lot about, as well as my research being pretty focused on adaptation and specifically the science or the physics behind how landscapes function and how they can be more resilient in the face of climate change and in the face of urbanization and human development. So I look at things like flows in an estuarine or marine or lacustrine, which is lakes, environment, and things like the physics of salt marsh, for example, interactions between waves, turbulence, and stratification. So I look at kind of fundamental questions that inform decisions about how landscapes can be managed better or can be restored to a more ecologically functional place. And I touch on all these themes in my teaching as well.
And specifically, which classes are you teaching?
Yeah, so I teach a whole suite of classes related to fluid mechanics at the graduate level. Right now I'm teaching one called Analysis of Rivers, Streams, and Estuaries, which is very much focused on how constituents travel through these systems under the influence of flows, under the influence of natural phenomena like waves. So that's really relevant to questions of how the landscape can work and how it could potentially be restored or made more resilient. I also teach our environmental fluid mechanics, which is at the graduate level. I teach open channel flow. I teach sediment transport, super relevant to the ecological questions that kind of motivate this kind of work as well. And then I teach an undergraduate sustainability class that is taken by a lot of our College of Engineering students.
Out of all of those classes, which one do you find has the most interest, perhaps, from the students? Or would you say that it runs the whole gamut of people and their particular interests?
Well, so I can't pick a favorite, it's like picking a favorite child, right? We can't do that. They're all, I think, really interesting in their own ways. I mean, definitely my undergraduate sustainability class gets a really broad cross-section of interest, and it's quite big in terms of student enrollment. But, I think that there are elements of all the classes that really connect with students depending on their own professional and academic interests. And I'm excited about all of them, and I definitely try to demonstrate that in my teaching.
And how does our mission of engineers in service to society resonate with you? And in turn, how do you make that come through your teaching and your classes?
So, service to society to me is kind of the foundational definition of what CEE is. So it just is so essential to every part, every sub-discipline in our department. So I feel like the resonance is pretty significant. If you're looking at kind of the traditional disciplines within CEE, you're looking at infrastructure, you're looking at roads, you're looking at, access to hospitals, you're looking at access to clean water. And these all literally make it possible for societies to exist and to thrive. I think another part that resonates with me too, though, is related to our focus on DEI in our department, which is really trying to strengthen connections between people. And that's just as important in a community as roads. So I think focusing on things like cultural competency, communicating with each other with an open mind, appreciating differences, all of that kind of strengthens the fabric between people, which to me is also elemental to a community and a society. So I see our department as focusing on all of those.
And you are on the DEI committee, and you also are very involved with the Pelham Scholars Program. Can you tell me how those efforts play a role in forwarding our message and our mission?
Yeah, so I've been the chair of the department DEI committee for 2 years, and I've been the faculty advisor for Pelham. This is my 4th year since its inception. And both of these programs, or the work that is done in both spaces, is precisely focused on those relationships between people and increasing a sense of belonging among students, for example, increasing the ability of all of our members in CEE to communicate well with each other, and to convey their respect and appreciation for people, even over disagreements, which of course are natural and they're a good thing to experience in an academic setting. So yeah, I see our work on both of these as just supporting that mission to create healthy and strong bonds between all of our community members, to increase the sense of everyone in CEE that this is a place where they do belong and where they're valued.
And through your work in the Pelham Scholars Program, what has it meant to you personally to be involved with that?
That's been a really big source of joy for me in my professional life. The Pelham program is pretty groundbreaking in terms of eliminating a very real barrier, a material barrier to graduate education for a lot of our students. And I'm talking about tuition, of course. So, I feel like it's really kind of putting our money where our mouth is and saying that these things are important, but then also demonstrating that they're important. And I've seen the Pelham program bring people into a master's program who would otherwise not have the opportunity at all. And these are excellent students, and they have this completely unique perspective. So they're gaining all of this technical expertise. Through Pelham, they're also gaining a tight-knit community. They're also gaining a lot of programming and access to DEI learning through our monthly meetings and through our activities and the programming that's specific to Pelham. So they're emerging these really well-rounded service and society-focused engineers. So I'm extremely excited about Pelham, and I kind of see it working right before my eyes.
That said, what is the favorite aspect of your job?
My favorite aspect is getting to know my students, whether that's in Pelham, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's through committee work. They're very engaged in the DEI committee and just do an absolute ton of work in furthering our goals there. And, our students are funny, they're clever, they're so creative, and my interactions with them are absolutely the highlight of my job.
And is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, just that it's been a really kind of exciting homecoming for me because I'm also an alum of our program. I did my bachelor's and master's here ages ago. And so coming back in this capacity has been a real gift.
And that said, what would your message be to fellow alumni about the program and perhaps encouraging them to get involved or give back in some way? Is there any sort of call to action that you might have for them?
Well, I think that, probably CEE has done a service for so many of us who did graduate from this program, and students almost universally recognize the community and how special it is when you're here. So yeah, I would definitely encourage alum to kind of reflect on their experience and give back by mentoring or donations or any way that they can kind of fit in, a time or financial contribution because, as they know, it goes to an excellent cause.
And if you had a pearl of wisdom to offer a prospective grad student who is considering the University of Michigan's CEE program, what would you say to encourage them?
I would just emphasize all of these elements of the community of scholars and engineers and staff members and just all of the expertise that we have right here around us and the focus on supporting each other that we have. And I would absolutely encourage anyone considering undergrad or graduate school in these disciplines to come here. There's no better choice.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for listening to our podcast conversation. For more information about CEE at Michigan, please visit our website at cee.umich.edu. You can also reach our YouTube channel and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages from our website.